But at the time I was in nursing school.
Right.
And so I was training to become a nurse, and I always thought that was the path that I was going to take. I would get more clients, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, I have to sleep.
Yeah.
I have to
Your view of health and wellness sort of evolved.
You know, my view of like what exercise was like being in a gym,
Yeah.
lifting weights, maybe doing some mobility work, training your cardio. But then you realize everyone has to move.
Emily, I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. It's so nice.
We're not used to seeing each other in this kind of context.
Yeah. I'm used to having you like on the floor.
Exactly.
I even thought about a podcast idea where, you know, we just get a microphone right over the Thai massage mats.
That would be amazing, because we were just saying how when I go for my Thai massages with
Yeah.
you, we just basically end up chatting
Yeah.
the whole 90 minutes because there's so many interesting things to share.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this idea came from, to have you on the show, is because you're an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You have a very interesting journey, background that led you to opening your business. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah.
So first off, you're a registered nurse.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm-
So tell us how you went from that to basically your business, which is a massage and wellness movement.
Yeah.
Business.
Yes. So, I mean, it's interesting because you were kind of there from the very start of it. When I
True.
met you, it was back when I was teaching kickboxing.
That's right. You were a personal trainer.
Yeah, as a personal trainer, I was teaching kickboxing, and that's how we met. But at the time, I was in nursing school.
Right.
And so I was training to become a nurse, and I always thought that was the path that I was going to take. I was going to go into nursing. I was going to work in the hospitals. Maybe I would become a nurse practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
But I just couldn't quit. I couldn't quit the personal training. I just
Right.
loved doing it so much. So I didn't quit. I worked full-time as a nurse, part-time as a personal trainer. I worked out of my apartment. I worked out of gyms, and I just couldn't quit it. I would just keep doing it, and I would get more clients. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I have to sleep.
Yeah.
I have to there's a certain point where
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it so much.
Mhm.
I didn't want to stop.
What was it about it that was so fulfilling for you?
Well, I think the reason why I wanted to become a nurse was I wanted to help people feel better.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was in nursing school, you see a lot of suffering in the hospitals, and I just didn't get that thing that I wanted from nursing. But when I would train people feel strong, they feel really good. They tell me that they can do more in their day-to-day life, and that's what I wanted. So there was just something that tickled me about that, and I never really wanted to give it up. And eventually it got to the point where I was working way too much as a personal trainer, and I had to make a choice.
Yeah.
And the choice kind of seemed really easy. I knew what I liked doing, but I also knew what put food on the table. So I was really fortunate to have like the nursing background, because you can work as a nurse to kind of whatever capacity you want, right?
Right.
So I just kind of cut down a little bit on nursing, increase the amount of training that I was doing, cut a little bit back more on like the nursing.
Yeah.
And eventually I just had to stop nursing altogether.
Yeah. So it was a question of scheduling and a question of time, but also a little bit a question of what the impact that you felt that you were having.
Absolutely.
On people.
It didn't feel like a difficult decision to make in terms of like where my passion laid. The decision was more like the challenge was logistical. A lot of people would tell me like, you're going to give up your benefits, you're going to give up your pension, a steady paycheck to be able to do this. But I was just looking at the nurses I was working with, and I just didn't want to be like them. They were miserable. They didn't enjoy what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I was at the very start of my career.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel really blessed that I have this beautiful thing that brings me joy and that brings me some money.
Yeah.
So why not try to
Exactly.
go into this? And I can dabble in it as much as I'd like. I can always have nursing as a fallback.
So what you're saying, basically, what's interesting is that it wasn't a huge leap to go from nursing to being an entrepreneur, because partly you were already doing that and trying to fit it into your nursing scheduling. So it was just a question of making a choice.
Yeah, making a choice.
And it wasn't a difficult one from what I hear.
Yeah, I don't think it was a difficult choice to choose like what I'm doing now, because I mean that's why I'm doing it. I love it so much. But the challenge was making sure, like it's about like a matter of when do you take that the next step? When do you cut back on nursing, and when do you cut back on that security?
Yeah.
That
We were
you
just
have?
talking right before the recording that there's never a good time.
Yeah.
How do you pick a time? when you wait for the perfect moment to do something, it's never going to happen. So how did you make that decision of the when?
Yeah, for me, I think I was quite risk averse at first, especially like not knowing what you're heading into. But I think the more that you train that instinct, the easier it gets to make that decision. So at the beginning, I was just working a lot. I would work my night shift, come off my night shift,
oh my God.
train clients, go to sleep, go back to a night, like train a client, and go back to a night shift. And then it got to the point where, like, I have a lovely partner who's just like, you need to cut back. Like it's starting to kill you. I think the moment was when I realized that nursing is getting in the way of my training. Right. I can't schedule clients anymore, and I don't like that.
So instinctively, you knew what you were drawn to.
Yeah, I knew exactly what I was drawn to, and it just because it felt good. It made me feel happy. I felt so happy every time a client left. I'm like, this is amazing. They feel better. They tell me that their life feels better. There's something here. There's something very special about that. But when I first started nursing, it was just, I always thought that was like the path that I would go on, because it would be silly to do anything otherwise. But I think the thing for me was I started having foot pain as a nurse naturally. Right? that happens. And I was always told, like, wear orthotics. And so I would, wear cushion shoes. I'd wear the orthotics, and it just never helped. And then I realized I don't know anything about the feet at all. Let me learn. So I worked for the physiotherapist who taught me all about the feet, and I realized, oh, this is the same as every other part of the body. There's muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments. And then I started to train my feet in a way that I've never seen before. Just wiggle my toes around, strengthen my feet in a different way, and then my foot pain went away. And that was like my lightning moment, where it's like, oh, there's like little things that you can do in your day-to-day life that can make a huge impact. And I want to explore that a lot further. And it was just one of those things where it fascinated me, because something so small can make such a huge difference in my life. And I just got obsessed. So I got obsessed with learning about the human body. I got obsessed learning about how you can change your environment to influence the behaviors that you want to see. And I thought it was something that was worth sharing with others, because if I'm experiencing this, others might be too.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically your view of health and wellness sort of evolved.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were saying initially it just seemed obvious to go into nursing.
Yeah.
But your experience led you to a kind of different definition of what how you wanted to approach health.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's a definition that's constantly changing for me. Yeah. I don't know if it's the same way for you, but over the years, my definition of health has changed drastically, and I hope it.
Can you be more specific? Like, what do you mean when you say it's changed drastically? Like,
yeah, I think with health, it's become a lot more multifactorial, right? Where I used to think health was, merely like the abs. If you're not sick, then you're a healthy person. But then I realized there's other components to it. Right. You got to be physically fit. You got to eat well. But then I also realized there's other parts where you have to have healthy relationships. You have to have good community. You have to sleep well, care for your mental well-being too. So now I think of health more holistically. Right. Yeah. And that's changed for me. I think being open-minded has changed my view of health as well. So I try my best.
How are you more open-minded now?
Well, I think when I was in school, like when I was in nursing school, you're kind of taught like a narrow way of viewing health. Yeah. But when I opened my mind to, exploring these weird ways of working with my feet and maybe not wearing orthotics and, doing all these strange foot exercises, I was like, it helped me. So I realized I had to open my mind a little bit more, because there's probably more out there, more that's not explored. There's probably weird things that we can do in our day-to-day life that could make a difference. So I think that's really helps me to kind of just be curious. And the beautiful thing about like my job today is that I get to work with so many bodies and so many people from all different backgrounds. And that in itself is kind of like an education, right? You get to like talk to me like yourself, right? We talk all the time, but every day I get to talk to 5 or 6 people for a whole hour. And it's so fascinating because I get to learn about their life, what influences their lives, what they suffer from, what makes them feel good. And I just keep my mind as open as possible and learn from them. And hey, what you're experiencing, we could probably use that for someone else. too, and we could just explore it. So what I've done now with my job, it's really just about listening to people and helping them explore in a safe way, like how they can move a little bit better, and just be there with them as they explore movements so that they can feel better.
So movement.
Yeah,
exactly. So we've been talking about massage therapy and your past as a nurse, but what do you mean by movement?
Yeah, I mean, movement is everything. I think when we think about exercise, we think of personal trainers. My view of like what exercise was like being in a gym, lifting weights, maybe doing some mobility work, training your cardio. But then you realize everyone has to move. And so my view of what movement is, it's really everything. It's how you get up out of your bed. It's how you go up and down the stairs. It's how you get on the floor to play with your grandkids. And that's, when we think about that, so many people have issues with movement that affects their life and affects their ability to enjoy their life. So I just saw that there was like kind of a niche there where, and the niche is people who have issues with moving. So my role is really to help people just move better so that they can enjoy more of their life.
And from a business standpoint, like just shifting a little bit, how do you take your vision, movement and wellness, and reach the appropriate not audience but market to be able to treat the people that you need to treat?
Well, nowadays I primarily work with seniors. So I work on like fall prevention. I work with people with injuries, with people with Parkinson's, people with dementia. That's kind of the niche, and I think it's kind of just happened naturally. The nursing background plus the training background, it made people feel a lot more comfortable working with me. It's been one of those things where I just say yes to everything. People will ask, like, is this something that you do? And if I haven't done it before, I'll be honest with them and say, well, I haven't done this, but I'm willing to work with you and try if you're willing to put your trust in me. So we'll explore that. And out of that, we get new things that are born. So I didn't do like Thai massage in the past, but people were asking for it. So
you actually went to learn it.
I didn't learn it in Thailand, but I learned it here from a friend. But I fell in love with it when I went to Thailand for sure.
And what is Thai massage? Just if listeners don't really understand the difference.
Thai massage is a form of massage that comes from Thailand. It's fully clothed and is typically done on a large padded floor mat. The way I like to describe it is kind of like lazy yoga. So you get to lay there, I move you around, and that's been a really nice modality too for people who can't move or they're not able to move very well. So for the senior population has been amazing because sometimes they're injured, sometimes they're tired, they're weak. Right?
So you're moving for them.
You're kind of moving for them.
You're going to stretch the legs.
You're moving their limbs around. You're giving them a stretch. So I found that was just a really good modality to use. It was one of those things I was just curious about, and then people liked it. So I would do more of it. And it's just, for me, it was just something I was interested in because I enjoyed receiving
It's so
Thai
cool.
massage.
It's like you were talking about being open-minded. So it's as if your open-mindedness, you see opportunities. And you go for that, and sort of you're self-taught, which is the case of a lot of entrepreneurs too.
And I think for it was a lot about like planting seeds, and when you plant seeds, you don't know what's going to come up. But when, as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to plant as many seeds as you can. Some of them may come to fruition, some of them may not. And this was one that just did. I was like, I'll learn Thai massage. I'll learn more about the body. It was something I was just curious about. But then now it's become something where I do Thai massage on a regular basis. But for my senior population, it's a great modality to add in with training. So we might exercise together, but when they become fatigued or they're a little bit too tired, we just get down onto the floor and I'll massage them. So you
integrate both.
I've integrated both, and that was just born out of working with clients who were too tired, and they were like, "Can we just do this instead?" Sure, why not? Let's just do it. And now that kind of service was born. You kind of just go where the needs are.
And that's how the business grows.
Exactly. You kind of just go where the wind takes you.
Exactly. I'm curious though, when you say you planted many seeds and some of them, come to fruition, others don't. Do you have some that haven't and that you wish they had?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I've done I volunteered a lot. You know, it's just to kind of get my name out there. I've helped out at different sporting events, for example. Some of those don't come to fruition. You don't get any clients from it. But sometimes I volunteered for Algonquin, one of the colleges here, for example, just to share a little bit about my story. And it was just something I wanted to do, volunteer, put my name out there. And then years later, it came back and they asked me to teach.
Okay.
So that was something like a seed that I planted long ago, and then it came back around. Yeah, it came back around. So I think it's nice, like as an entrepreneur, you just, you get to, whatever you put into it is kind of what you get out of it.
Even if it's not instantaneous.
Yeah, it might not be instantaneous, but people will know you from years ago. You know, I met you doing this and now I'm looking for this. I think that's also kind of like how we reconnected.
I remember very specifically, we met during kickboxing and all that, and then we sort of went our separate ways in a sense, you know, life kind of took over, and then COVID happened, and all of us online, you were offering free movement
classes,
sessions, and I thought to myself, wow, like that's something that you know, it would help you connect with people when there was the confinement, and I reached out to you, and that's how, you know, I certainly came back to you as a client. But that was a great idea also, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where just do things. This is like, whenever I wanted to, if I had an idea, I think the thing that has helped me as an entrepreneur was to just start. Just do it. Just start somewhere, and then you'll learn along the way, but you won't really get that opportunity to learn what you need to do until you actually begin the journey.
You know, to be able to do that, like just start, you have to be ready for failures sometimes. And maybe that's why some people just never start, because they're waiting for the perfect package, you know, before putting it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But it takes some courage, I think, to sort of put yourself out there. And
it does take, I think it does take a lot of courage, but I think the more that you do it, then you become okay with failure, right? It just becomes part of it, and it's part of the journey to have failure.
So when you say you become okay with failure, is that a sort of journey in itself, like a beginning where you take it really hard and then eventually you learn to
you're just like it's just part of it, right? At the beginning, you beat yourself up, like, what did I do wrong? It's horrible. I don't know if I should go down this path because I'm making so many mistakes. But then you get your first success, and then that fuels you a little bit more, and then you'll try it again. So you'll have probably many failures, but then maybe those failures will be fewer between, and you'll have more and more successes, and that builds and that drives you more. You just become used to it. It's just part of the entrepreneurial journey to have failure, but to know that what you put out is also what's going to bring you success.
So it comes back to passion.
Yeah,
maybe I've heard that from previous guests. It's all about how convicted, or not convicted, the conviction around your passion, and how convinced you are that your idea or your vision needs to be put out there.
And I think, like, for me, the job that I have now, it's a job I would never trade for the world, because it's something that, like, I know I've created this. It's something that I've always felt that was missing in my life. And there was just never a job that felt like it fulfilled that passion for me, the thing that ignites me. But as an entrepreneur, you build that for yourself. If something's not working for you, you don't like doing it, you just stop. You stop doing it. In any other job, you don't really get that opportunity. So for me, it was just something that it feels necessary for me. So
just to be clear, you're a personal trainer still, but you do have a physical business.
Yes, I do.
In downtown Ottawa. Where people can go and get some services.
So it's like a small movement and massage collective. So it's just a bunch of really passionate massage therapists, physiotherapists, and myself,
including your partner too.
Including my partner Vince. He's a massage therapist. And we wanted to just create a space where people could come and work. And work and do the thing that they're good at. Unfortunately, with a lot of like massage clinics, they'll take a huge cut from you, and you're there to make them money, and then a lot of them get really burnt out. Like the average career span of a massage therapist is about 6 years. So it doesn't last.
Really?
It's not a very long career. So we wanted people to have a place where they can come and be able to make as much money as they can, so that they could live and feed themselves and pay their bills, but also be able to thrive as a practitioner.
But if this is a different model from other massage businesses, are you making money by providing this space to other massage therapists?
Yeah, we're making money doing that. So basically what we do is we charge our practitioners rent, and then we provide them with all the necessary services that they need to be able to do that. And for me, I make enough money to be able to have a space for myself too, because I think for me, my goal is not necessarily to be able to live passively off of this income. It's to be able to continue to allow myself to have a job that I feel fulfilled and passionate about. So, and if I can just keep that going for the rest of my life, I'll be really happy, because I don't think I'd be very happy if I didn't have this job. Like, this is something that I want to be able to
you wake up
do.
in the morning and you want to go to work.
I want to have a nice work-life balance too, and
which you can choose to have. Well, that's interesting, because speaking to other entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting off your business, it seems to be, for some people, all consuming. Those first years is 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and it's your baby, and you have to, it's all about the business. But you're young, and the business is relatively young too, and you're already able to have this really satisfying work-life balance.
And that's been just such a blessing for me. I feel like for me that was that was where I felt like, okay, this is a successful business. Now I can take my weekends off, and I can enjoy time with my family, and I can be off in the mornings. I can make my own schedule. I can go on vacation, and that's wonderful. But I also get to come back to this wonderful job that I love.
And just out of curiosity, have there been any moments where there've been real difficulties where you thought maybe the business wouldn't survive?
Absolutely. Especially during the pandemic, when we weren't able to work. And this is where, and in those times, you're going to have slow times when you work with clients. There's going to be peaks, and there's going to be ebbs and flows.
True.
To it. So you'll have weeks where you'll get tons of cancellations. You won't have anything to do, and it really takes a toll on your ego. But for what I've learned over the years is those are the times where you plant your seeds, right? You start to, you fix your website up. There's all the things that you've been meaning to do.
So you never put into question your decision during those times, because that could be one way of doing it.
At the beginning.
It's easy to say this isn't the right decision and I need to do something different, but you're saying put more into it.
I think at the beginning of my journey, absolutely, I was like, oh my gosh, am I making the wrong decision? Should I go back to nursing? And then those weeks where I just had no clients, those were the times where it's I don't know if I've made the right decision. But then the next, you'll get your clients back, you get that flow, and then you just start to see patterns in it. Okay. So you start to see patterns, and you start to get less worried. And then what you do is you take your vacation during those times where you kind of predict that you're going to have less clients. But I think the more that you go through those ebbs and flows, the more it's just it's just part of it. It's just you kind
of live with the uncertainty.
You live with the uncertainty, and you know that things are going to get better. There's going to be weeks where you're going to be really, really busy if you just kind of keep going.
Although COVID wasn't just an ebb and flow, that was a big one with a lot of uncertainty.
And actually at that time I had gone back to nursing. So I had a pause in my schedule. Said this is a good time to go back to nursing, and it was one of those things that was perfect, because that's the beautiful part about having a nursing background.
You're so positive. You see the opportunity in everything.
You just go back, and when things opened up again, went back to what I was doing. It was always, and I will always still have that too, because we just never know what the environment's going to be like. And I think we have to be adaptable as well.
Absolutely. And I do remember at one point also you had designed some furniture.
Yes.
that revolved around movement also. So what happened with that? Can you talk a little bit about that? As a wellness practitioner, but also as a business person.
So the business was called Human Home, and I worked with local carpenters to design furniture that would allow people to move better. So we had this kind of floor desk that would allow you to sit on the floor and move your hips around and freely in any position, so that you're not confined to one position.
And the point being to diminish the chronic pain and
the idea is to influence more movement, get more hip mobility in, which in turn would help with low back pain, hip issues, knee issues, and whatnot, and just kind of introduce more movement into your day-to-day life. It was a great idea. People loved it, but I realized that I didn't enjoy it at all. As I was going down that journey, I just did not.
What was it about it that you didn't like?
think working, the job that I have now,
Yeah.
what I get to choose everything that I do. When you start working with manufacturers,
Yeah.
when you start working with other people, there's just a lot more to start managing too. And I just didn't enjoy working with products. It was something that I felt passionate of. I wanted people to have access to it, but I didn't want to push one product all the time. I just wanted to have something available to tell people about it. This is an option.
Yeah.
But
as a business person, you had a sort of obligation to push the product
in order
to,
I just thought I fell out of love with it. And so what ended up happening, I just took the rest of the desk. It was a nice full circle moment. I went back to my old elementary school and I donated all the desks there. So they all use it there now too. So it was a nice project to dabble in. I really felt like I poured my heart into that project.
Well, I remember seeing your website and the furniture was gorgeous.
Yeah,
it was
thank you.
Yeah, it was very nice wood. Like, say you worked with a carpenter, so it was
it was
beautiful.
And it's tough. Like with carpenters, you have to meet certain deadlines too. And I just didn't enjoy working with products and moving them and shipping them around and working with insurance. It was it was a lot to deal with in that way. I'm really happy that I did that though, because all it did was just kind of reinforce that what I'm doing right now, working with individuals.
And you also learned something about yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's it's just part of the journey. You kind of dabble, you're like, oh, that's not where I want to go. Just come back. And
do you think like it reinforced something else in your business? And so you learned something about yourself?
Absolutely.
So that energy that you would have put in there, you put it somewhere else?
Yeah, and
it went right back I mean to say, like, in the end, did it
it only ignited my passion towards working with individuals further. I realized how much more it's like, I like working with people. I like having this face-to-face contact. I like being able to like sit down with an individual for an hour and know their story, get to know them better. It just felt like it was more engaging in that way. So that whole thing, just all it did was just kind of steer me onto the right path. I realized I steered off the path a little bit and it wasn't for me. And then it just pushed me back into the right lane. So I think it was worth doing. And I think I will continue to do things like that. If my passion drives me somewhere, I'll explore it, and I'll really try to explore it fully.
So Emily, you're saying that it's really important to put more into it when you're doubting yourself as an entrepreneur, but at the same time, you did put an end to the project, the furniture project.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, like, how do you know when it's time to put an end to a project that you've undertaken?
Yeah, I think when it starts to get in the way of your main mission. So the main mission that I had was to first and foremost work with individuals. And that project started to feel like it was taking my energy away from what I really, really wanted to do. And the moment that it started to deplete from that cup, then that's when I knew. So
it's almost intuition.
Yeah,
it's what you're feeling inside that sort of drives the decision.
Yeah, a lot of it is intuition. And I think when you stop focusing on the money, I mean, it's probably not the best advice for many entrepreneurs.
I've heard this before, though,
but when you're not focused on the money, you just focus on your mission. It will come. Yeah, like the passion, everything else will come.
This is a recurring theme.
Really,
you're not the first person to have said that. To like, if you focus on the money, you might not succeed, but if you focus on what you're passionate about, somehow it works out. And it's a weird thing that you have to kind of just put your faith into. Like many other, I mean, the whole entrepreneurial journey is about putting your faith into yourself and into what your passion is. And I think the more that you do that, and the more you realize, okay, the money is going to come in, it's going to be okay. You kind of reinforce that. You reinforce that thought process and that behavior. So that's what I do. So the moment that it takes away from what I actually want to do, that's when I know when to stop. And is there a passion right now that's tugging you towards exploring something new?
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, I work with, before this, I'll kind of dive into it further, but working with seniors, I never thought I would enjoy working with seniors. From a nursing perspective, I didn't enjoy it. I felt like I was, handing out pills, and it was just a sad kind of state working with older individuals. And now I get to work with them, teaching classes, teaching them how to move better, teaching them how to go down the stairs and strengthening them so they could go down the stairs without knee pain, and so they can get on the floor to play with their grandkids. It's been such a fulfilling thing. And working with seniors has been fascinating because it kind of gives you a look into the future, right? I didn't grow up with grandparents, so when I talk to an older person, I'm learning about what life might be like for myself, what aging might be like. But I also get to look into the past too, because what was it like living in the 40s?
Yeah.
You know, tell me about what we used to do. How did we think? Did you use sunscreen at that time? You know, so it's all these kind of fascinating things. So I get a little look back into the past and then also a glimpse into the future. So that's been just like a very fascinating thing for me to explore.
Yeah.
It's interesting in terms of how I'm aging too, and how everyone else ages. So that's been something that I'm really passionate about. But
I love how you talk about the fact that you work with seniors allows you to have a little glimpse into the future, what's coming up. But as a movement coach, what would you say to young people in order to maybe prevent some of the difficulties that seniors have to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone, if you're able to, is to get outside and walk daily.
Walk. As simple as that.
As simple as that. Just walk daily. And one that I really notice is just connection to other people. Because when you get closer to the end of your life, those are the things that really matter the most. So harness those relationships. Those are really important in your day-to-day life. And make sure you take care of the people around you too, because those are the people who are going to support you later on in your life.
That's an interesting answer and a little surprising, because as a movement coach, I would have expected very specific advice, you know, about this is the kind of exercise you have to do. This is the kind of, but you're talking about being outside, walking, and nourishing your personal relationships.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, where people really struggle with is, you know, you can have all the access to exercise classes as you want, but if you're not going to come down from your apartment to engage with others, then it doesn't really matter. So first and foremost, like, you have to be able to engage with people, and people have to know that you're there.
Right.
If no one knows you're around, then you could brought in.
So it's breaking isolation.
Yeah, breaking isolation. I think that's
preventing isolation.
Yeah, first and foremost. And I think just doing that alone, just starting to nourish those relationships, that comes first. The movement kind of comes second. Yeah. I mean, I think as our population is aging, the need for senior care is going to be growing exponentially. It's a really important thing that we have to focus on. So I feel like what I've been doing a lot lately is working with fall prevention. I've been working with a lot of people going into their homes to teach them how to maybe create safer environments.
So they don't always come to you to your studio.
Lately I've been going to them.
That makes sense.
Yeah, then I go to them because there's a need for it. I have this awesome studio space, but there's been a need for me to go to their home. So sure, I'll go. I'll go. It wasn't something that I offered before, but now I do because of the need for it. And it's something that's fascinating. I get to go into people's home environments and like look at everything. How do they live? And I've just found that a fascinating thing. I like people.
That comes through loud and clear. You do love people, and people really appreciate what you do. I was telling you earlier that so far on this podcast, we've had few women. I was talking to you about the fact that obviously being a woman entrepreneur comes with its own challenges.
Yes.
Obviously. Do you feel that? Like, is it something that you feel like you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, or?
Yeah, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, you get harassed a little bit more too, just being a woman. Working in the fitness industry, there's not a lot as many women. They don't take you as seriously, so you have to build a reputation for yourself. But I think, and I was excited to this, I'm pregnant right now.
Yes, so that's such great news. When you told me that this morning, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. So, we're so excited. But then this is bringing up a whole new set of questions for me. It's how do I navigate my business now? This business I've worked really hard to create. How do I navigate that now, balancing out having a child? So there's been a lot of questions for me now. I'm still early in the process of thinking about it.
And how are you approaching that? Is it something that scares you, or is it
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I'm excited. I'm everything. Like, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm anxious about it. I'm thrilled.
You're living it right now. You know, you just found out you were pregnant and you're thinking, fuck. Like, how am I going to make this work, while being excited at the same time.
And I think that's like part of it too, is like being able to talk about this when I am confused. I don't know what I'm going to do. And that is part of that journey too. When we can always look back and be like, you'll figure it out. Everyone who's had kids, they're like, it always works out. You'll figure it out. But while I'm in it, I don't know what I'm doing, and I have no idea. And there is a lot of apprehension kind of going forward with it. And there will be a lot to navigate. And I don't have answers. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when people say you'll figure it out, I don't think it's to dismiss it. It's because there's nothing you can say to prepare someone for how you're going to want to, integrate being a mother with a business, and it's not just about taking care of a baby. Your whole identity is going to change. Yeah. You're going to be a mother.
What's been really interesting is I've been able to talk to my clients about this too. And like I was saying, is that I have this like encyclopedia of people who come from different backgrounds who can give me advice. And that's been so nice to be able to talk to everyone and just ask their opinion and give me as many tips as you can. And that's been really, really nice. I'm not sure how I'm going to be approaching all of this. Is also new for me too. So I think this is like kind of the next challenge for myself as an entrepreneur and as a human. Yeah.
Because obviously as an entrepreneur, it's not like you can take some time off, I'm assuming, but there's not this unlimited 1 year paid leave like it's the case for a lot of women in our society anyway.
Yeah, and that's definitely like brought up questions of, should I have gone down this path? Now, for for my 20s, I didn't think about it too much because I wasn't thinking about children. But now, this is another point where it's like, should I have gone back? Should I have a job where I get a maternity leave and I have some
stability?
And
what's the answer to that?
No.
That's a hard no.
That's I mean, I think I'll be adaptable and I'll figure it out.
So what scares you more? Is it like the financial impact of not working as much, or is it losing clients maybe because you'll be away for some time?
Yeah, I think it's the more the financial impact, but also like this has been my baby for a really long time. So there's an attachment to it as well. And I think it's going to shift who I am as a person. I want it to change me. Yeah. I'm curious as to how it's going to change me, but it's going into so much unknown. So, how am I going to balance having a family at home and continue to work and make sure that I have that passion and the love for the work that I do as well. That kind of scares me as well, because I know
you're afraid of losing your passion.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that where I know that having children, that's going to take a lot of my energy, and I'm someone who likes to dive in fully. So I want to make sure that I can balance that out too. And I think part of it is just, it's unknown. I don't know how I'm going to feel.
That's right.
Yeah.
And even though you seek advice probably from a lot of people, including your clients, probably friends and family, what you're going to go through is going to be very distinct. Yeah. You can't really plan how you're going to feel or how you're going to adapt to that.
Exactly. So. And I think it's just one of those things where you have to see when it comes. Sometimes it worries me that my focus will shift altogether, and that I'll be focused solely on my family for some time. And that, in some ways that worries me, because I don't feel like it's right towards my clients and towards my business to not fully put that passion in there too. Yeah. So I'll have to adapt and kind of learn as I go.
And it's interesting because as a woman, right? Because there have been previous guests that have talked about the balance between family and the business, but they've been men with partners. Not to say that they're not involved in their family, but I think it's a different situation when you're going through the pregnancy. You're going to be going through those first months of caring for a newborn. It's going to be a different kind of challenge than it is maybe for men.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like even right now, I'm thinking about the job I have is very physical.
That's true.
And I have to get down on the floor with people. Right. And I'm envisioning myself getting larger and larger, and I'm trying to figure out how do I adapt. Now, how do I adapt working on the floor for Thai massage, maybe figuring out how do I work from a table as my pregnancy progresses. There's a lot of these questions that are running through my mind that I don't think many men don't have to really think about these things too. It's like, how do I adapt my fatigue at this point too. How do I integrate?
Your level of energy has just shifted completely.
Has just completely shifted. So it's like, how do I navigate this and continue to like put all of my passion towards my work when I have this other thing that's kind of dividing my attention too. So it's been fascinating.
And I guess I'm listening to you and I'm getting this feeling that you're going to take all of these experiences that are developing ahead of you and find some sort of way to help future pregnant women. I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't thought about that very much because
in terms of movement, because you're gonna understand what it feels like to be pregnant.
Yeah.
And how it can feel, especially towards the end, constricting up to a certain point.
Yeah.
And how do you use movement to feel better?
Yeah, I think like taking all of my life experience has really just helped me grow as a practitioner as well. I think I told you last year I got really sick when we were traveling in Guatemala, and
that was a funny story.
Yeah.
We'll spare the details.
We'll spare the details. It's pretty gruesome, but anyways, I came back and I was very weak, and it was very challenging. But that kind of gave me insight into what it's like for people who are undergoing illness and recovering from, if you're going under chemotherapy, like what is that like to have no energy, to try to balance out the recovery and development at the same time. And it's such a delicate balance. So that experience, although horrible, has kind of driven me to like learn more about part of the human experience. And I think that this will only kind of teach me a little bit more, because I know I'm not the only one going through this.
But as a movement expert and coach, going through it is going to allow you to open some new doors, maybe.
I think so. I think so. And I think that's how it's been for everything. My journey began with, I had a lot of chronic pain, and it was just about me trying to figure that out for myself, and then realizing other people had similar types of pain too, and like, well, this is what worked for me, maybe we can explore this for you too. So I've learned that all of these lessons that have come in my life, they're teachers, right? They teach you a little bit more, and they make you better. They make you a little bit more aware about the human experience, and
you
how
get
we
wiser
go
and wiser. But as an entrepreneur, it's also moments of opportunity.
It's an education in itself.
And it helps you develop new niches in the market and maybe diversify it's super interesting. So okay, a lot of changes coming up for you in the next few years, but I'm wondering, like, do you sometimes think long term, like, where do you see your business? You seem very content, very happy with the work-life balance that you have and what you've built so far. Are you happy with the way it is now, or are you envisioning something bigger down the road? I
think I've had moments where I've thought about, growing the business, but what I've learned for myself is that I actually just like the side where we're at right now is kind of the sweet, perfect spot. I think we tend to always want to continue to expand and grow our businesses, but sometimes like where you're at might be the perfect spot. So for now, at least, I feel like this is the perfect spot for me to be at, to give me time to maybe be with my family, and perhaps like when my kids are grown, that'll be a time where I would want to expand further. But at the moment, I love where I'm at, and I think a previous version of myself would want to continue, open up a big gym, open up a bigger facility.
It's interesting you say previous version, like, so you're acknowledging that you're not the same person you were
when
you opened the business in the beginning.
When I opened the business, I was like, we're gonna take this really, really big. But the larger you grow your business, the more you have to manage and the more you have to do. And I've found that this is just like a really lovely spot to stay at. And so I've been enjoying where we're at right now. I think my husband has been as well too. And it's kind of nice to just take a little pause and just enjoy what you've worked really hard for.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think it's important to do that too.
Yeah. We worked really hard to get to this point, and it's a beautiful balance. And we might just want to stay here for a very long time because we get to engage with our work in such a meaningful way, but we also get to disconnect from it and then engage with our life in a meaningful way too. And that's a hard thing to give up. I feel like we've kind of struck a really nice balance for ourselves. So.
Well, it's certainly Very inspiring. And I think a lot of people dream of being able to do what you've done, or in the sense, you're stuck in a job that's very demanding, but safe, and to take that leap and it's not just a question of taking the leap, I think, but it's also a question of knowing how to do it. Like we all have passions, but to actually go out there and build something that allows you to make a living off your passion can be complicated. Like I wouldn't even know where to begin to do something like that, but you did it.
I think the first step was to just tell people what you want to do. If no one knows that you want to do something, then it won't really come to fruition.
And that's a theme that keeps coming back. Everyone, the entrepreneurs, they say you have to talk about your idea.
And just put it out there.
Put it out there to as many people as possible, and somehow it comes back to you, kind of like a boomerang.
Exactly.
Earlier,
Exactly. I mean, when I wanted to start fall prevention classes, I wanted to start teaching seniors in a class environment. I just started telling people. I said, I want to teach seniors in a class environment. And then I would just keep telling people that. They're like, that's a great idea. And eventually opportunities came because someone knew someone else who could connect me with the right person who could make this happen. But I think a big one is, if you want to do something, you have to say it. You have to just say it, and you tell people about it, and just start. And I think by talking about it, you'll learn what what direction.
Say it and start.
Say it and start.
I love that. That's a great slogan. Say it and start. So I ask this question to every guest at the end. It's sort of a standard question. So I'll ask you to. So in your opinion, Emily, what is the top mindset quality that is needed to start a new business?
Don't be afraid to make mistakes, but just learn from them. That's there's one piece of advice I can give, is just engage in what you want to do, make the mistake, but learn from it.
You seem like a very wise business person that has a lot of years of experience, but we know that, it's...
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. Well, you're faking it very well. But no, when I was saying that, I admire like the decision that you made to sort of go with your passion and put all of your work energy, or your this is how I'm going to earn my living energy, into your passion. I find that, I don't want to say I envy it, because I just have to, if I wanted to do it, I just have to do it. But it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, right? And I have these fantasies sometimes of like opening a flower shop. And just spending all my days with plants and flowers, and and that's it. Would I ever do that? No, because like I wouldn't. It just seems like such a huge leap to take. I
mean, it is, and I think there's a lot of sacrifices that come with it. I mean, for me with this business, it was like I feel like I've sacrificed a lot of my social life and my sleep to be able to have this business, while my friends were traveling and doing and partying and, having fun, going out to dinner, I was working. I was working on building this business. So, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. It was just, it was so intentional, but it felt like I didn't have a choice.
Did it feel like a sacrifice at the time? Or is it in retrospect, you say
no,
sacrifice?
It felt like, when you look back at it, you're like, there were many sacrifices that had to be made to be able to get to this position. But at the time, it didn't feel like a choice. It felt like it was just, I have to do this because I hate my job.
Like a greater, something greater
driving
greater
you. Purpose. And like, I just felt like I needed to do this. And because I didn't enjoy what I was doing, and I was like, I can't go down this path. I don't enjoy it. I don't want to end up like those nurses that don't enjoy that. They're so tired and they hate it. They
they're stuck in a system.
They're stuck. And I felt really blessed that I had I was like, you know what, I have this if I need to, but this is the time. I don't have kids right now. This is the time to dive in and try and give it a real shot. And I'm happy that I did.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Emily.
you for having me.
And thank you for allowing Margaret to be part of the conversation.
Of course, yes. She's always welcome.
And good luck with the year that's coming up.
Thank you so much.
And all the new changes. It's super exciting changes, but challenges all the same.
All of it. And I'm ready for all of it. I'm ready to let it change me.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.